Hello YouTube chess lovers and my friends, this is Gunjan here. Welcome to my first episode of Killer Mini Chess Traps. These practical traps can not only used effectively in shorter time control, but you can employ them in professional tournament as a complete surprise weapon, especially below 2000. In this episode, I'm going to show you 3 traps and the content are as follows. London system is nowadays a trendy line and it's almost a guarantee that you are going to face in one of your game. So the trap I'm going to show you is very effective if your opponent doesn't pay attention in the opening stage. The opening start with d4, we will play knight to f6, and here white can respond either way. He can play bishop to f4 or in this game knight to f3 happen first. And after black plays this sneaky move, c5, if your opponent is not familiar with the theory, then he is likely to churn out this mistake, namely bishop to f4. Well, I must say, white has made an error on the third move of the game. Yes, you heard it right. The reason is, here black is going to capture this pawn, and now white has the only good move in this position, namely queen captures d4. Afterwards, black will get a tempo with knight to c6, and in fact a very good game. But more often you are going to find your opponent is going to churn out this move routinely, knight captures d4, which in fact happen in more than 50 FIDE games, and the most highest rated person fall into this trap is above 2000. Can you believe this? So chances of occurring in your game is very real. White's last move is a big blunder, and before I show you the trap, I like you to pause this video and find out a killer punch where black can win on the spot. Okay, I hope you find this decisive blow. Bam! So black pawn is attacking 2 pieces, and the only way to save this disaster is to capture this pawn. But now, can you see it? Yup, it's very simple but effective. Queen check. And no matter however white responds, black is going to win a piece in a broad daylight just within 6th move of the game. So this is one of the wonderful mini trap exist against London system, which you definitely want to try out in your own game. The second trap I want to show you happens against Orangutan or the Sokolsky Opening, which start with b4. And the interesting part is, the line I'm going to show you, you can use it as a complete repruta, as even though if your opponent doesn't fall for the trap, black get a very wonderful position. Black should start with d5, and after the usual move bishop to b2, here comes the sneaky point, queen to d6, and black has set the trap right here, just on the second move of the game. I have personally faced this opening few times in my quick games, and 50% of my opponent are fallen into this trap. Here white has 2 choices whether to support this pawn or move further. If you support the pawn with the move a3, then the simplest is you continue with e5 and look at the space black is gaining at the center of the board. And behind this wonderful center, he can develop his pieces very easily. But more often what you are going to find is white is routinely churn out the orangutan move b5, thinking that he is gaining a space on the queen side. But after black's next reply, queen to b4, and yup, just within fourth move of the game, we are going to be a pawn up, and with some accurate play, black can easily convert this into the full point. The third high-profile mini-trap arises in the French advanced variation, which happens after the following move order: e4, e6, d4, d5. Now white advance the pawn and grab the space in the center of the board, and accordingly black counterattack on the white pawn chain with c5. Okay, the mainline theory continues with c3, supporting the center, knight to c6, knight to f3, and black is putting as much as pressure on the d4 pawn with queen to b6. White should continue with a3, so if allowed, then he will definitely play the move b4 and grab the space on the queen side, and accordingly black needs to stop the move b4, so c4 is one of the main line from this position. Okay, now it's time for the development for both the side. So white will continue with knight to d2, controlling the b3 square, bishop to d7, bishop to e2, planning to castle on the queen side, and now the obvious move, knight to e7. So that knight is going towards some good squares, and afterwards black is thinking of developing the bishop and then castle on the king side. Everything looks so perfect for the black, right? Well, that's true, except there is one problem, that after black's last move, white is immediately getting the upper hand. Before I move on, I like you to pause this video and find out a decisive move which gives white a healthy advantage. Are you ready? Did you find this decisive blow? Boom! So suddenly from nowhere, white has munched a pawn, and funny enough, black cannot even touch that bishop. If he continues with other moves, then white will be a clear pawn up. So let's see what happens if black try to capture this piece. Well, afterwards, the line is pretty straightforward. I hope you find this forcing sequence: knight to c4, attacking the queen, looking at the d6 square, and after queen goes to anywhere, let's say queen to c7, we have a knight check, king has the only space, and after that, yup, we get the exchange with knight to f7 check, king to e8, and after knight captures h8. If you count the material at this point, white has a rook and a 3 pawn for a miserly bishop, which is a huge advantage. The only chance black is having is if somehow he can trap this knight, but you will be more amazed that that knight is coming out in a style. For example, g6 looks the obvious response, trying to capture this knight. But here comes the rescue operation from another brother. Yup, knight to g5. So planning is very simple. We want to play knight to f7 and take this knight out. Okay, but wait, what happens if your opponent continues with h6, kicking this knight immediately? Well, no issues. We are going to continue with knight to e4, trying to get a check in, and no matter whatever black plays, let's say knight to f5, trying to stop the check on d6, but we have the another check, knight to f6 check, and after king to d8 and knight captures g6, I told you, that knight is coming out. One more last variation. What happens if black continue with bishop to g7? Well, it's a very simple story. You are going to continue with knight h to f7, and after the move h6, we have this check first, and once the king move, our knight can retrieve back to the f3, and after the whole transaction, it is very clear that black get losing position on the 16th move of the game. Well, that's it guys. I hope you enjoy and learn this wonderful 3 mini traps. Feel free to like, subscribe and comment on this video, and I'll meet you in my next episode very soon. Bye and take care.